thank you once again, bro. Again, thank you very much. It's a privilege once again. I do not take this for granted. I love learning so much, and then whenever I have opportunity to share what I've known, I do not take it for granted. There is a there is a technique called Feynman's technique. It's a very powerful technique. I haven't acquired the knowledge. Um, it's important that we get to a point where we pass the knowledge, because that's a proof that you've truly understood what you've read. So whenever I get an opportunity to share knowledge, I see it as a very good opportunity. So today we'll be talking about AI, and I'll be introducing myself firstly, and saying one or two things about myself. Then we launch into what we have. So bro John already introduced me. So Abayomi Olawumi. So I'm a data scientist, I'm a trainer, and I'm a researcher also. Um, you may be surprised, okay, data scientist is talking about AI. So I prefer uh, to be called a data scientist because it helps me play around so many things. So I use a good number of tools for my day-to-day task. The likes of Python. I use Excel, I use Bash, I use Mozilla, I use SQL. And then right listed from the introduction, I had my first and second degrees in electrical and electronics engineering. And then I developed special interest in programming um, since my 100 level days on campus. So altogether, that's about 11 years experience. And then I also love passing knowledge, like I rightly said. So in terms of teaching experience, I also have 8 years teaching experience. And so I want to promise, and I will trust God to stay put and avoid speaking over our head. That is, I will try so much to avoid using so many AI jargons that we might not maybe like understand. So, and in case I use a word you are not too familiar with, you can do well to take note of that during the question and answer section. So, my story, then why data? I studied electrical and electronics engineering. Why data? So, at some point in my career, I was majorly doing web development, app development. At the time, I was doing desktop development, but then I developed special interest in learning. Okay, so my story. So at the time, I developed much more interest in research, and then I sought for a niche that would be very very sustainable, that can be applied across um, all fields, that will help me stay relevant in research and also in development. And then I found data, and then that period, I already have an insight that the oil of the generation to come is data. So that was my motivation for going into data as a career. So I would like to tell us one or two things as we progress. So the first question we have is, what is the hype about? Like, what is the hype about AI, about data, and all that? So I will try to be very, very basic as much as possible. So I don't want to assume we all know what data is. In fact, to be very, very raw, to be as raw as much as possible, maybe the our first understanding of data may actually be maybe MTN data. Yeah. So, but I think by reason of education and exposure, we got to understand that data is more than just megabytes that MTN gives us and all that. So, what is data? Where do we get data from? So, I can tell you, as I'm speaking data. As you are sitting, it's data. Data is everywhere. It's like information being collected, and information about anything can be collected in any form. So for instance, you may build a device to collect certain parameters, maybe to collect humidity. Those are data. So like you spend 5 minutes on Facebook, you're just scrolling. That your activity on Facebook is actually data. As you are clicking on a button, as you are liking, those are data. you know and in fact, these days, even when you don't do anything, data have been collected. Yeah. So data takes different form. However, there is data is majorly divided into two. We have structured and unstructured data. When a data is structured, is in a tabular form. Is in a tabular form. You have it in the rows and column format. And then when you have it unstructured, it's not in a structured manner. So, and then I already mentioned about data collection. Then what is AI? So till now, I think for some of us, you still get AI. What's AI? Then I also hear machine learning. What's the difference? What's machine learning? So now, when you have this abundant data that speaks about something, when it's now being used to maybe develop model, maybe develop a prediction system, maybe used to classify, you know, maybe used to do all sorts of things, such that we used to define computer as garbage in, garbage out, such that the intelligent human has, we can begin to train the computer to move close to the intelligence of men. And so that's what we do when we move from data to AI. So when you don't have data, there's nothing like AI, because computer in itself can never be intelligent. It needs data. So let me take, for instance, if I ask you, okay, what do you like eating? You might likely tell me you like eating rice. The reason why you are able to tell me you like eating rice is because your tongue has tasted a good number of foods. There is a data up there in your memory. So without data, you can never talk about intelligence. So we can separate data from AI. So then there is a subtle confusion between machine learning and artificial intelligence. So you can't talk about artificial intelligence without talking about machine learning. So there are models. So maybe we are developing supervised learning model or unsupervised learning model, or we are even doing generative AI. So these are machine learning, but the whole subject in itself is artificial intelligence. I'm teaching this computer, I'm teaching the system to be intelligent, to drive its intelligence close to human intelligence. So then, why the whole AI race? Everyone wants to integrate AI into their system. You go to the hotels, you go to this, you go to that, AI here, AI there. It's because of the productivity, the returns, the ease that comes with integrating AI to systems. And so there's so much fear of AI taking up jobs. So this I'm doing to introduce to us where we started from. There was a point where we there was not any kind of attention being given to data. You know, got to a point where, you can maximize data to develop models, and now we are driving towards, let's make the computer more intelligent. Let's drive its intelligence close to human intelligence, and that's what we have in when we talk about AI. So there are different applications of AI. There are different applications of AI. You can have its application in military, education, construction, gaming, banking. We have it all around us. And so today we'll be touching two major subjects. So the first one is how to harness AI for personal and professional growth. And then the second one is how to venture into AI as a career path. So I'll be starting with the first one, which is harnessing AI for personal and professional growth. I won't spend much time here because a good number of things we should maybe like possibly talk about. They we can find them online actually. So, but I'll do want to introduce to a large extent. So, today, if you've been running from AI, you can't afford AI as it is, because it's either you learn or you get kicked off out of the system. So you have to find a way to adjust to the new normal. Let me put it that way. You have to find a way to adjust to the new normal. So look at what you are doing today. How and where can AI be integrated? And at what point, at what junction can I bring AI to what I'm doing to make it more effective? So, and we'll first be talking about the various ways AI can come in to make our work quite easier. So, for instance, task automation. There was an experience I had last week. There's an app I use for currency conversion, and then I had an issue on the app, and then I tried to contact their staff, and then I was actually conversing with an AI. Like I was conversing with the chatbot. But then I could smell that I'm not chatting with an human. But then I asked some questions and it gave me some responses. And then so maybe in 10 years ago, like maybe 10 years ago, they would have possibly hired a staff, to manage communication with clients. But now you have chatbots doing it. You don't need to pay chatbots salary. You can just automate the task. So that's one. So just think about what you're doing today. Can I bring in automation into what I'm doing today? And if I bring in automation, it's going to be better, or like, so you have to do your scale of preference and opportunity cost and all that. Then workflow optimization. So on a very light note, so there are a good number of restaurants here where I stay that you go, and humans don't attend to you, robots attend to you. They come to serve you food. So instead of employing staffs to do that, you have robots, so like carrying out the whole workflow. Then also decision support. You know, there were days when you have people sit down with the system. They're doing forex. They're trying to buy and sell currency. And now I've seen a case where people have bots that does trading for them. Buy and sell. So you don't need to sit down with the system to buy and sell currency. So you can forecast. Also enhancing creativity and innovation. A good number of us, maybe we are much more familiar with ChatGPT. So in fact, if you ask anyone AI, some might even define the whole AI as ChatGPT, because that's what we've been quite familiar with. So for your content creation, you can, maybe you are to come up with a write-up, you can decide to maybe use ChatGPT. I always encourage people, use the AI tool rightly. There's a way you can use it wrongly. I will still talk about that towards the end of today's talk. There's a way you can use the AI, and then you may lose your critical thinking ability. You have to be very, very sensitive. So use it to your advantage. You have to use the AI to your advantage. So you want to create content, you want to do write-up, you want to do research and development, you can use tools like ChatGPT. So I will also still later introduce some tools we can actually use to enhance our work. So then I'll be talking about generative AI. Like I promised, I won't be speaking over our head. I will try as much as possible to explain this. So the AI most people are actually familiar with is the generative AI. But there was an AI before generative AI. In fact, generative AI is just a branch of artificial intelligence. So we have supervised learning, we have unsupervised learning, we have reinforcement learning. They all have their methods. We all have their methods, but because of this the so much acceptability of ChatGPT, what many people have become familiar with is generative AI. So, but that's not all about AI. So, but let's talk about the generative AI. So, generative AI is an AI that can generate text, image, video, or other data using generative methods. So, I want to in this case, I'm not predicting, I'm not forecasting, and I'm not classifying. I want to generate something new. Like, it's as if you are telling me, "Oh, Abayomi, can you sing a song for me?" So I don't know if you can try to understand where we are trying to take the computer to. We are driving it towards the intelligence of man. So imagine telling me, can you say something? Can you dance? Yeah, we are trying to take the computer to that spot. So that is generative AI. And so what it's been done actually is, I've talked about the different ways we get data. I said by strolling, your data is being collected, by liking, data is being collected. Data is everywhere. But even as I'm speaking to you, data is being collected. So let me even give you a very funny experience. So we are using a software now, for this podcast. So the software belongs to a company. They are allowing us use their service. But at the back end, they may be using this particular video to optimize their system, trying to get what I'm saying, translating what I'm saying, train a model using what I'm saying. Then maybe tomorrow make a recommendation to me. Maybe in this video I say something about chocolate. Then tomorrow in my email I begin to receive suggestions about chocolate or something. So data has been collected in whatever way, whatever means, and all that. So for the generative AI, as we have it on the slide, we can have text generation where you are generating text. So I was talking about text to text transformer. So there are different models to carrying that out. So I have them on the slide. So for a good number of us, we may not understand some of the stuffs you have here, but I'm just going to explain some few things that's quite relevant to us. So we also have image generation. So you can generate image, just type a text. I want you to generate an image of someone who is doing that. Then you have the AI generate a new and unique image for you. You can have a generative AI that you has to give you sing music for you. Maybe just the write up. Oh, I'm lonely. Can you sing a song for me that will make me sleep? You can have stuff like that. Then we have video generation and all that. So, in fact, to the point of in Canva, for those that use Canva and Adobe, there's what they now call Adobe Sensei now. So it gives you suggestions on design task. Give you suggestions on design task. So the world of AI, generative AI, it's going somewhere. It's driving us towards the intelligence of man. Yeah, it's driving us towards the intelligence of man. So for instance, you can see the picture on the slide. You can see the picture of the girl. So that girl was actually generated using AI. Yeah, that girl was generated using AI. So okay, so then I was also talking about test to test transfer transformer. So I have this picture here. This picture is from a lab, and so I want us to imagine how um, model is being trained. So from this picture, so you can see T5. So you can see the pre-training. Okay. Now, see the first word, President Franklin M. born January 1882, being fed into the T5 model. You have another word being fed into the T5 model. So you have like six sentences fed into that T5 model. Now, if you take that T5 model now, after training it, then you just come with a question: when was Franklin D. Roosevelt born? So from the training that has happened, then you have the output 1882. So that's how the T5 test to test transfer transformer actually works. So this is just what usually happens. So it's the whole thing about AI. It's not witchcraft. It's mathematics. It can be proven. It can be explained. It can be explained. So I took time. to get out some tools because if in this podcast we won't be able to, we can't experiment all the available AI tools out there. So I have on my screen a list of AI tools. So from credits to a guy named Vibe Ash Idao. So he's an Indian. So it took time to get a good number of many of the existing AI tools out there. But just as a good number of them, you may have to maybe pay for you to have access to some services. So you have some that you can create automatic faceless video. You can create video from a test. I attempted one in the afternoon. Like I just told him, okay, create a short video regarding Python, and then it's created the video. So, but then for me to download the video, it was requesting I upgrade my account that I needed to pay. So, but these things are real. So you can turn text to video. You can ask for many of these tools out there. So if you want to have the list of these tools, so you can do well to visit the link. You can see on the screen. You can visit the link on the screen to see more of those tools. So this is a screenshot of what I was playing with then. So you have this was the video output actually. So it's very interesting. But I needed to like upgrade to get that. So then I also have the list of some other AI tools out there. So many of them out there, but then they are applications, But what goes on underneath them, you may just use them to optimize your business, optimize what you do. But we'll talk about the second half of it. For as many that are here today that are interested in you want to actually understand what goes on. Like I want to be able to develop my own I want to make meaningful contribution. I don't just want to use ChatGPT. I want to build my own AI model and all that. So we'll be talking about that henceforth. So venturing into AI as a career path. So at this point now, we are not just talking about how you can use AI to automate what you're doing, to optimize the work you do. But now we're talking about how to venture into AI as a career, which I think I really want to speak about. So if we talk about AI, there's a language which I strongly and always recommend for anyone. Yeah. And the language is Python. So definitely I was not the one who wrote the language. So but then you can't talk about AI and not talk about Python. So Python is a programming language. It was written by the guy called Guido van Rossum in 1991, and then since inception, the language has been climbing up the ladder. In fact, in 2023, in the list of the programming languages that was most used among developers in the world, you have Python sitting on number three. Then you have JavaScript and HTML, CSS sitting on the first two. So you have about 49.28% of developers uses Python for one thing or the other. And then we have on the second chart on the left, the second chart on the right hand side, you know, looking at the growth of major programming languages, you can see the growth of Python over the years from 2012 to 2018. There's so much, like the growth very, 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 very fast. Very, very fast. Compared to other languages, you can see a drop in PHP and all that. So what are the things you can use Python for? So aside from AI, which is our subject, you can use the Python programming language for, you can use it to automate your task. You can develop machine learning models, and you can carry out data science. So, like I said, you can't talk about AI without talking about data science, without talking about machine learning. So don't get too carried away by the word AI. They are sitting on the concept of data science and machine learning. They are sitting on the concept of several mathematical models. They are sitting on the concept of several statistical models. So it's going very, very fundamental. You have this understanding. So, but then a strong recommendation is a Python programming language. And then this is just me sharing. So, personally, I've used Python, I think, in the last 1 year to carry out a good number of projects. So, there was a time I opened my desktop and then I realized it's a concern. You download this file, it's sitting on your desktop, the file may sit on your desktop for a long time, and then your desktop gets very, very, crowded. So it's okay, why can't I use Python to automate my task? So I just wrote a script that automatically clean, it doesn't delete, but automatically moves folder from my desktop to a different folder. So I use Python for that, pure Python. So then also use Python to develop a glaucoma detection system. So it's an image processing problem, then an emotion detection system, calorie estimation. So like from the picture of food, you can know the calorie of that particular food. Then sentiment analysis, audio denoising. So when you have audio, then I develop model to remove the noise in that particular audio signal. Then phishing attack detection, and then there was analytics work I've done and all that. So this and this you can do with Python. So when you talk about the whole AI of the thing, so many of the things I mentioned, they are actually some of the applications you find out there. But just that people integrate it with, maybe they integrate it with their websites, they integrate it with the mobile app, they integrate it with robots, integrate it with machineries, but they sit on these fundamentals. Some of other recent projects I did, okay, this was the scripting I was talking about. So you can see my desktop before, my desktop after. So I just wrote the automation, okay, automatically clean my desktop. So move it to this folder. And then on the right hand side is looking, cleaner than the left hand side. So you can do some analytics actually with Python. So some of the pictures, not pictures, the figures you are seeing on the screen, they've actually plotted using Python purely. So you see the horizontal bar chart, you see the table, then also you can see a clustering result and all that. So you can use Python to implement fully. You can use Python to implement end-to-end. Okay, so you can use Python to implement end-to-end, a complete system from beginning to the end. So there are other important tools in data science. So I strongly preached Python to us. So there are other important tools that's very, very important if you're trying to pick a career in AI. So the SQL, we have SQL, we have Power BI, we have Excel, we have Tableau. Many of us are familiar with Excel. So SQL is a structured query language. So when you have your data in a tabular form, represented in rows and columns, and then you have them in that table format, and then you have a database that has several tables, and then you're learning how to manage the data in that particular database. So when you have such structured data, you need language like SQL to manage them. So maybe, for instance, you as a data scientist, as a machine learning engineer, or whatever, any career in data, you have course to work with a server. You may be asked to pull out this data, then analyze it, then they give you an address to a cloud server. You need your skill of SQL. Then we have the Power BI. So Power BI was created by Microsoft. So majorly to visualize and analyze data with greater speed. So maybe you want to just quickly do a fast analytics, then you want your visualization out. You don't have time for writing code. So then you can use your Power BI in such situation. There many of us are familiar with Excel. So Excel is another very powerful tool that I want to strongly encourage that we take time to also learn. If you're trying to pick a career in data, so take time to learn Excel. In fact, recently you can now write Python in Excel. I don't know if so many of us are hearing that for the first time. You can write Python programming language inside your Excel. You know those spaces where you put number, you press tab, you can write Python there. So if you are using the most recent version of Microsoft, you can now write Python in Excel. And for me personally, in the last 1 year, I've used Excel more than I've ever used Excel, and I see many things I never knew about Excel, and I see many powerful things Excel can do. So um, if you've learned Excel before, maybe this may be a good time to go back to it and brush up. So then also we have Tableau. So Tableau is just like a sister of Power BI, also majorly used for visualization. So yeah, majorly used for visualization. So I'll move on. So I would like to talk about popular complaints and questions. So we've talked about, so I'm trying to like take us on a very interesting journey. So we've talked about what data is, the relationship between data and AI, what led us to talking about AI. We want to drive our system towards human intelligence, and then we've talked about the various way, the various way data have been collected. Then we've talked about how we can integrate it with what we are doing, maybe through task automation and all that. Then I started talking about venturing into AI as a career, and then I preached Python to us. I told us how powerful Python is, and then I showed us some of the projects I did purely using Python, and then I just talked about some interesting tools you also need to learn also. So some popular complaints and questions about starting a career with AI. Okay, questions like how and where can I start? Okay, I don't have programming experience. Okay, I don't like mathematics. Okay, how long will it take for me to become a pro? Okay, I once tried, but it didn't work out. Okay, so let me start with how and where can I start. So I would firstly want to say that everything comes with a price. Everything comes with a price. So it's I'll share with us in learning track. Everything comes with a price. So first you need to, if you don't know where you are, you don't know if you don't know where you are and you only know your destination, you are most likely you may not know even how you're going to get out of where you are. So first, you need to first identify where you are. Where are you? So what do you know? What have you learned before? What understanding do you have now? Okay, I don't have any programming experience. Where can I start from? Okay, I need programming experience. Okay, can I use book? Do I need to enroll for a course and all that? Start from that point. So one thing you shouldn't do is don't compare your maybe, oh, this person started and learn it in just 2 years. Oh, someone, you see, I'm on YouTube. Oh, I learned Python in just 7 days or something like that. So many of them have different backgrounds. Some have programming backgrounds. You don't have programming background, so you may need to take more time than others. So if you don't have programming experience, no problem. There was a scenario that came to my understanding, and I was asking someone. I remember when we were in school then, among our colleagues then, even when we were in 500 level on campus, if you okay, who are the people who like programming languages in our class then? Maybe we were just three. The rest will say, "Oh, programming is very difficult. Very difficult." In fact, a good number of my colleagues then tend not to do well. They can be very, very brilliant on other courses, but tend not to do well when it comes to programming language. And then this is 2024. I can tell you clearly that about 80% of my colleagues now know how to program. They now work, many of them work in a programming company, about 80% of them. Then I ask myself, what has changed? What has changed? We may want to tempt it and we may want to say, oh, maybe the education system was not okay. But I won't say that. What I would say has changed is the fact that now it's obvious to a good number of people that okay, you need to know a lot of IT skills, to thrive out there. When survival came into the picture, you know, the barrier of the mind, gets shattered. And it got shattered. So that means there's a barrier in the mind. There's a mindset. So there's a mindset a good number of people already have about programming language. And then when they carry that mindset to learn, definitely, if I'm saying it's difficult, definitely when I approach it, it's going to be difficult. So I don't like mathematics. Well, actually, if you tell me if I like reading, I don't like reading. But in the course of reading, I developed interest in reading. I fell more in love with reading. But from onset, it's boring. Like reading and reading, But to get to a point where I develop interest in reading. So I think we can discipline ourselves, on whatever course we want to achieve. So then how long will it take to become a pro? So it varies actually. So it depends on where you are. It depends on where you are. Then I once tried, but it did not work out. Try again, then try another method. Try again and try another method. So popular roadmap. Popular roadmap if you want to you're looking at developing a career in AI, in machine learning or whatever. So I'll be very, very frank with us. So it's a marathon journey. On a very sincere note, it's a marathon journey. So you may acquire some skills at a particular time, but you need to keep topping it up. Like for instance, okay, if you say, okay, Abayomi know AI, this or that one, I didn't just arrive at that point, maybe in just 1 year or in 2 years. It's accumulation of many bits, and then like everything then came together to become something we can now see. So now, if you're learning Python as okay, I don't know what Python is. So if you can discipline yourself, I tell you, averagely in 8 months, you can be very fluent in Python. So it's just like you're learning a new language actually. Imagine you find yourself, these are the scenarios I usually paint for myself, and it helps me discipline myself. Imagine you find yourself in Chinese and you are told there's no way you can go back to Nigeria, to any English speaking country, and then you have to survive in China. So you have to learn the language. So to eat, to do this, you have to learn the language. I tell you, you're going to learn the language. So the same thing with Python, you're just trying to learn how to speak a language. And thanks to God, it's written in English, not Chinese. So in 8 months and with serious discipline, I believe anyone can finish up understanding Python. So then also you will need to know a good number of things in mathematics and statistics. So for instance, personally, I do not have any background in statistics. I do not. But at some point, while I was reading up some of the machine learning models, some things will be said that we forced me to go and watch some material, to go and watch a particular theorem on YouTube. Then I sit down with it. Then I begin to work it out. Although I do not have statistics background. So at some point, you will need that background because in the course of so many of the AI, it has to do with probability, it has to do with some hypothesis testing and all that. So you're not just working towards becoming a programmer. You want to understand the science. You want to understand the mathematics behind some of this model. Then also DB know-how. So there are several database systems out there. You have MySQL, you have MongoDB, so many database systems there out there. So database systems is just like a house where you have the data stored. So you need to also understand how to communicate. You don't know how to. It's just as if like you don't know how to get the product out of the container, and you want to prepare a very delicious meal. So it's important you know how to get the product out of the container before you can prepare delicious meal. So you need to understand, some database systems. Maybe you understand SQL, you pick Progress SQL, and you understand how to communicate with the Progress SQL. Then also machine learning. So the machine learning, there are several branches. You talk about supervised learning, you talk about unsupervised learning, you talk about reinforcement learning, and then we are now talking about generative AI these days. So they all have their different technologies and they are different models. So you need to understand. So the way you approach a prediction task is different from the way you approach a detection task. So maybe for instance, for some of the example I said, like you're trying to do emotion detection. You want to develop a model that detects someone's emotion. It's different from the way you approach. I'm trying to forecast what the price of oil will be in 10 years time. So you need to understand the different technologies, the different principles behind this model. So it may take you about 2.5 years. So then also the idea of big data now, have come in because now everyone is trying to harvest data. So just like what I said the other time, like as we're doing this video, we are live on YouTube. Yeah, we don't know the data YouTube is actually collecting actually. Like maybe they are collecting my word as we're speaking and they are converting it to text and they are checking my email and they are looking at the words I've said like 20 times, and then I get an email tomorrow suggesting that thing to me. So they'll try to collect as much data, as many data as much as possible. So and then so because they are collecting a lot of data, because everything is important now. Any form of data is useful now. So we now have big data, and now there are now systems, Hadoop and all that are used to manage this data, when there are so much of them, they need to be managed. So we have to now talk of big data. So personally, I think the best and the first part to start is just pick Python. It may take time, but then I believe you can do it. So on a closing note, my mantra. So in all we do in AI, so let's be God fearing. Yeah. So then integrity, excellence, and growth. So never stop learning. Yeah, I want to emphasize on that. Never stop learning because the world is evolving. The world is evolving. So many of the things AI does today, if a prophet has risen up in year 2000 and said this will happen in 2024, would have called such prophet a prophet of doom. So it's important that as people, we should have insight. We should have foresight. Very, very important. Personally, there was a time, and I think it's a wisdom. I think God through the scripture gave me at the time. From the book of Proverbs, the scripture says, "Go to the ants and learn. Who in summer prepare, gathers his food. In summer gathers his food." So that means God puts seasons in place, and then there is a particular animal who is very proactive. When we have it plenty, do well to gather a lot. So as the world is evolving, it's very important we have foresight. So now for me personally, many people are green programming these days, this and that. Then I ask myself, what will be the case in 50, 60 years time? So, and then how can I prepare for the world to come? So it's very, very important. So as AI is evolving, and maybe a good number of people are scared of AI taking up their jobs and all that. Um, I want to encourage us, do well to have insight, do well to have foresight as you are learning. Don't just be rigid, have foresight and prepare for the future. It's a wisdom. So thank you very much for the time. I might have said a lot of jargons, which I believe some of us here might not really like understand. Uh, but then, if you decide to maybe pick a career, maybe later on you get to understand some of the jargons. So, thank you very much, and I appreciate the privilege once again. So, if there is any question, I will be available to answer. So, I hand it over to my brother.